Yes, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us in this day in this awesome webinar. And my name is Felipe Pires. I'm security research at Senha Segura, and I have a big pleasure to be here with me. This awesome expert in cybersecurity. We have here Leonardo Beda and David and Philip and Keen. Thank you for staying here with me, and I really appreciate. By the way, I'm really happy with this awesome conversation during this, specifically, almost 1 hour during this afternoon here in my case, because I'm talking from Brazil now. I'm talking from São Paulo here. And yes, we have it here in Bright Talks, we have the Q&A button. So if you have any questions to make with this awesome people here, so we can write your questions and let's begin, right? And let me talk about this specifically topic during this day because we are in the end of the year, and basically, what does it remember about you? Maybe you've been, thinking about the gifts, about the sales, about the celebrations and shoppings. Usually, this is the idea. That's the way to this specific webinar, and basically, and we gonna talk about the Black Friday, and then I think it's tomorrow, yeah, right? But when we talk about the Black Friday or Cyber Monday or other different, special datas, maybe the cyber criminal are looking through this specifically data because they can use this data to send specifically phishings or other things like this to make more the attention of the people, right? And the idea during this conversation is to talk more about this specific talk, about what are the biggest threats to the business, about how you can protect yourself, and how can you help your company or organization to protect their assets and so on. So please, I would like to invite all those our experts today. So I would like to understand about, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you are and how you got here on these specific cybersecurity fields. And I would like to start with Keen. Keen, tell about yourself. Who is Keen and what Keen started in cybersecurity?
Oh, well, my name is Kim Crawley. I am currently the manager of Hack the Box's blog. I co-wrote the Pentester Blueprint with Phil Wiley over here. My journey to where I am now has been a really long one. In the mid 2000s, I started as a desktop support technician with a handful of CompTIA certs. And I started to become fascinated with cybersecurity because of all the malware that I had to remove from people's computers. I was sometimes removing malware from people's computers 30, 40 times a day. And that really got me hooked. I've always had a creative writing background. My dad was a novelist, so I was kind of raised with creative writing as a craft. And eventually the two interests, cybersecurity and creative writing, converged. I love researching cyber threats and vulnerabilities. Cybersecurity will always fascinate me, always.
Awesome. Let me invite you, Phil. Who is Phil? Talk a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Yeah, so I've been in IT and cybersecurity for 24 years, a little over 24 years. In January, we'll make 18 years since I started in cybersecurity. I started out doing network security, on the blue team, moved to application security, and then into penetration testing. So I've been pen testing for almost 10 years. Like Kim mentioned, we co-authored a book called The Pentester Blueprint. This was based on a talk that I gave at conferences. It was a lecture that I gave to my students each semester on ethical hacking, just to kind of give them an idea of what a pen tester is, what that job entails. So in 2018, I got into more of the teaching side, doing more conference speaking and workshops. And that's kind of where I got. And currently I work for a large US bank as a penetration tester.
Awesome. Our other guest, Leonardo Beda, my friend, welcome aboard.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Leonardo Beda, actually the engineering manager from security side as well for BIS as part of a ABM Bev company as a brewery. So my career started, I was more addicted to development. So I worked most of my career or focusing on application security side, DevSecOps and etc. So I spent most part of it on banking, payment methods, and fintech side as well to make everything more secure. So yeah, it's about that.
Awesome. And the last, but no matter important, but my friend David. So welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you very much for the privilege to talk with all your competent people. The first time that I had contact with cybersecurity was just after I left university, before I left university on my final project. And I never had contact after that before 2017, so 4 years ago, when I joined the Cybersecurity team. At first, I joined to work at knowledge management in the development of documentation and marketing material. And then a couple of years ago, I joined the marketing team, helping not only with those materials, but also with the market research and the product evaluation from, companies like Gartner, KuppingerCole, Forrester. So that's what I've been doing so far.
Awesome. So let's start with the first questions, and this maybe is the main topic in this in our webinar. And this is the question for all people here. And why the cybersecurity threats skyrocket during the holidays or these special data? So why do you think about that? So tell us what you think about that. Let's start with King, for example, and after that you can comment that.
Well,
what do you think?
The first thing that comes to my mind is that consumer IoT devices are now more popular than ever. A lot of homes have Amazon Echo devices, Google Home devices, smart refrigerators, smart TVs, you name it. And these are things that people very often give as Christmas gifts. And sometimes people find consumer IoT products to be very helpful. They like all the cool features. They like having a web browser on the refrigerator. But sometimes, and I've spoken to people who specialize in IoT security, like Stu Peck, for instance, and they tell me that sometimes the default settings on these devices are very, very insecure. And consumers often don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to administrate these devices. They don't know that some random stranger on the internet, maybe going through Shodan or somewhere else, is looking into their living room right now because they haven't configured their Amazon Echo properly or their PlayStation camera. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's like sometimes people get puppies or kittens as Christmas gifts, and they don't know how to take care of them. It's the same with these consumer IoT devices, which can be helpful and can be cool toys to some people, but they're not being secured properly.
Awesome. Next.
Yeah, can I go? When you come through my mind, when you have a holiday season, we have a Black Friday, when you have a Christmas. So when you have a lot of holidays like this, you have a season to buy things like a you have to buy gifts to your family, what I can say. So it's a large amount of buying things to things you have on your side as well. So you look like promotions, So you're going to buy a lot of things, so it makes insecure because you have a lot of your data. You spread on a lot of the websites like Amazon, like third-party companies. So it's the most insecure part because you don't have a one gateway to pay everything, and one you don't have one gateway to buy things. So when you have those data spread on everywhere, you don't know if you have a data breach on each of those companies. So it's very complicated, when you have those seasons related to spread buying things, So it's complicated.
Well, in my opinion, this season is an important date, not just only for us, for people and e-commerces, but also for the cyber criminal. And despite of we get the holidays, the cyber criminals they don't get vacation. I just want to bring a data that 80% of global organizations, they have experienced increased cyber threats, and this is according to a study from McAfee and FRI. And I believe we have to take into account some aspects. Well, the growth of e-commerce, for example, and this e-commerce growth have been boosted by the pandemic. Well, people, they couldn't get out of their homes, so they had to get things from their cell phone, from their desktops. And well, this caused a rise of online transactions, which called the attention of cyber criminal to perform attacks through these means. So, and I believe e-commerces, retail, the travel industry, also supply chain, those are pretty much the main industries that are affected by cyber attacks. So pretty much the increase of online activity has raised cyber attacks in those areas.
Yeah, one of the things we have to look at is the human element is the weakest part of the chain. You figure with companies, we go through security awareness training, and sometimes people just don't get it. They're still clicking on emails. So you take the consumer that is not trained, then this is a lot of targets for attackers. And people are looking for good deals. So phishing emails, 50% off on, an iPhone or whatever, people are going to click on those emails, and they're getting more clever because one of the things they're adding is to like some of these emails too, these phishing emails, they're adding like an unsubscribe link to it. So they're getting more clever with their attack methods because, a lot of people are going to think, I don't want this junk email, and they hit the unsubscribe and they're still connecting. So the human element is going to be the weakest part. There's a lot more opportunity. People are trying to get bargains. So it's just prime time for attackers. People that are working for e-commerce companies or just organizations in general, the security people are going to be a lot more busy because most cases it's going to be busier for retail this time of year. So be able to spend more time, watching for malicious traffic is going to be a little more difficult. So you got high opportunity and people are distracted that are trying to protect the end users.
Awesome. And we have here in our webinar 4 different people with a different country. We have here Phil from the US, United States, yeah, and Kim from Canada, right? Yeah. And Leonardo Bella from Brazil, and David from Brazil too. And I would like to make this question specifically with Keen, for example. Keen, how do you see this type of attack, in this case, a threat during the Black Friday or Cyber Monday, in this specifically Canada market?
Well,
how do you see it in your country?
I remember clearly, because I'm older than I look. 20 years ago in Canada, Black Friday wasn't a thing. But because of the strong influence of the United States, for the past 10 years or so, more and more Canadian retailers have had Black Friday sales. It used to be in Canada that our equivalent of Black Friday was Boxing Day, December 26th. The day after Christmas, that's the big sale that everyone goes crazy over. And now, because of so we got the influence of the UK, with us having Boxing Day sales on December 26th. And now the influence of the United States, we now have Canadian retailers with Black Friday sales. And then I think Cyber Monday started to become popular in the past 10 years. So cyber threats existed in the 90s, but Black Friday as an attack surface for cyber attacks would be a fairly recent thing in Canada. Maybe not, because a lot of Canadians would cross the US border for Black Friday sales 20 years ago, but it's mainly been a phenomenon just in the past 10 years.
Awesome. And let me do the same question with Phil about the United States. Phil, how do you see this specific attack in the US market?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest shopping days of the year, and so that's where that's the main impact. I think it's going to be pretty common in most of your countries that celebrate Christmas, and even people that celebrate Hanukkah. Some of those holidays that come up that encourage the shopping. So that's mainly what it is. People, it's kind of amazing how it's gotten earlier and earlier, but like this year, due to the pandemic and stuff, some of the stores are not opening as early, but some stores were actually opening on Thanksgiving, a US holiday. And it's just amazing how early stores open up and stuff. So it's just really highly encouraging people to buy, so that's pretty much how it affects us. And
awesome.
we're also influencing Canada too, so that's.
I think not only in Canada, I think it's around the world. It's the same influence.
We gave you Justin Bieber. You get to keep
Oh no, you can have him. You can have him back. That's punishment. So we.
And how do you see the same behavior that here in Brazil, or I don't know, Latin America, or other country that you see this kind of attack? What's your opinion about that?
Yeah, I guess the main problem that we have actually is like when you see Black Friday threats, you have most of people that doesn't have almost daily access to internet now or anything like this, accessing the internet when we have a Black Friday, like they're buying everything, so it's difficult to have a visibility and make safe for everyone when we have those kind of holidays related to just buy, So here in Brazil we have a lot of threats related to this because we have a more fragile people related to access to internet, access to those kind of promotion. We have a lot of phishings related to those part, as Philip said before. So yeah, it's related. When you think about Latin America, it's more easier, I guess, to have those kind of threat on those kind of holidays, So yeah, it's impressive the numbers increasing when we have those kind of holidays here in Brazil, or when I think about Latin America,
Yeah. About you, what do you think about that, Dave?
Well, I agree with you all. The first thing I believe is that we didn't have, for example, Black Friday before. I think Black Friday is a new concept also here in Brazil. I also remember spending Boxing Day in Canada, and it's really crazy. But the other thing is that not only we have more dates like this. We don't call Christmas anymore. We just call the holiday season. So it starts from November until January. So we have a timeline of attacks that can be performed. And also before we had lines of people in front of stores to perform, to purchase and to buy stuff. Now everything is made online. And now with the pandemic, everybody's shifting to the virtual world. So everybody is just going to shop. So attackers can just create a virtual store and just collect credit card information. So it's very easy to commit this kind of crime. You just need a virtual store and just put some ad on Facebook, and everybody will fall on that and just start a phishing campaign. So it's very easy it's getting very easy for people to be caught in this kind of attack.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm seeing here some comments from the people that I've been watching our conversation. Some people writing here, thank you for the Black Friday, and hi Phil and Keen and everybody, glad to see here. And another people right here, I suppose that maybe it's Alberto from Uruguay, because he writes, or I think it's he, right? And well, if there is an influence from the US with the Black Friday, so is Uruguay is like a local event, It's the same case in Uruguay and the Latin American countries and so on. We have some question here for King. Looking forward to watching the webinar. King, any types from Washington from buying safe on this specific season? I don't know what that means. Washington, you know, I don't know if the pronounce is correct.
How do you know if you've been the victim of a phishing attack?
Okay.
Okay, well, if that's the question, I would say that your first clue is probably going to be a charge on your credit card or a charge on your debit card that's connected to your bank account that you don't recognize. You know, you may have clicked on a phishing link, and even if you didn't input your financial details into the website, you may have launched a phishing site which is now taking credit card or other financial data that you have stored in your web browser, because even though you didn't know you were doing it, you gave the phishing site authorization to access. I know that my web browser on my MacBook right now has my credit card number. And if I clicked on something to give the site the permission to access that data, they would have it. So if you, whether you tried to buy something on a phishing website or not, if you interacted with the site and you see a charge on your credit card or on your bank account that you don't recognize, that's your first clue, I think, that you've succumbed to a phishing attack. Another clue is if the phishing attack is just to get your username and password authentication credentials. Very often, there are features now in most popular web browsers. I know Safari has it. I've had a lot of experience. I know that Google Chrome and the Google ecosystem have it as well. These metrics and the algorithms aren't perfect. They're not going to catch everything, obviously. But sometimes you can now see in browser whether or not your credential has been compromised or not. Another good idea is to sign up with Have You Been Pawned, or Firefox has, I think it's called Firefox Monitor. And they can alert you to a lot of credential breaches as well. It's not 100%, it's not perfect, it's not going to catch everything, but it might catch some things.
Mm-hmm. Well, here at Senha Segura, we also offer Senha Segura Hunter, which is a tool that you also can detect if you were a victim of a data breach.
Excellent.
Awesome. And yeah, so let's think more about the organizations now in this moment. So I'd like to make a question to Leonardo Beda, because of course the organization needs to protect against this kind of attacks. And Beda, thinking about the involvement of the security team, not only the security team on this kind of festive data and special data, but what do you be the role of the manager or the head, even the plan definitions process, because it's a special data, maybe it's a vulnerable time, so what is the importance of the director's participation on these decisions? Because when you talk about the board member, usually they look more about the risk and impact and the revenue and so on and so on, but they need to participate about this. They need to engagement more about that. So what do you think about that, and all those guests think about that?
For sure. But when we actually think about the head and manager chair, you think about the strategic position. So you need to translate everything to the directors about the risk and the management that we have actually over security. So you need to be aligned with the product team as well. What kind of things we are going to do on Black Friday or any kind of holiday, as a promotion, or how it's said, or as a, I don't know, etc. So they need to be aware about everything that you're going to change on your website or to deploy an application site as well, to make to have a assurance that you have a risk appetite for any kind of problem that you're going to have on the application side as well. And then you can be aligned with the product team. Okay, we are going to move forward with this problem, or we're going to fix, or we're going to remediate as well to have everything on the right place. So the directors are important to have visibility about the risk appetite as well, to have more visibility what is going on the Black Friday or any kind of a holiday, and then say, okay, they beat on the left side and say, okay, we can move forward, or we are going to change anything, you know. So this is the main importance to have a security person that is related to directors and then make them aware about the risks that we have. Actually.
Awesome. And thinking about the techniques used by the attacker, Phil, what have been the main techniques used by the attackers during this, festive datas? Or if we looking more about the, for example, cloud environments, has any techniques caught your attentions, or even you are working a lot with a penetration tester? Do you see some different techniques on these special datas, or when you're looking more about the cloud native environment or like this?
For cloud, really not much different, because at the end of the day, it's just like someone says, it's someone else's computer. So it's all storage and processing on the back end. So nothing really particular there. I think the main techniques for this type of year is going to be mainly like phishing and different types of scams, trying to get someone to click on it. So it's just some of those attacks of advanced, some, like I mentioned earlier, seeing some of the emails where there's multiple opportunities to click on something, like even an unsubscribe, which is interesting about the unsubscribe. Before I ever saw that in a phishing email back in like about 2015 or so, I actually did that on a phishing engagement I was doing during my consulting days. It was really before companies were doing their own internal phishing. And one of the things I came up with before I'd actually seen it, I had used an unsubscribe button, because it was like around the beginning of the year. And the pretext I was using was a deal on health club memberships. So it looked like it was a special for this company. And I thought it was a last ditch effort, because they've had a lot of phishing campaigns ran on their company for like 7 years straight. Some really skilled consultants doing that. So I had to try to think of another way to get someone to click. So adding like an unsubscribe button and other opportunities in there, just trying to get people. And I think nowadays too, is to make people think that they've won something or got something free. You see that a lot of social media. One of my aunts reached out to me a while back because she thought she had won $15,000 from Ellen DeGeneres. And some people that really need this money during these, during difficult financial times, they're desperate and they're going to click on that. They're hoping that it's real. And I even explained to her, this is a scam when someone's trying to social engineer you, because if a big name celebrity is giving away $15,000, you can bet everyone's going to know about it, because it's for PR. It's not just out of the kindness of their heart. And so I think they take advantage. The phishing thing is the big thing, scamming people. For those that are not really familiar with phishing, it's just next level con artist. The way people used to con people, you had to be there physically to con people. Now, with the internet, you can con people from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I was wondering about that, and about I don't know if the different awareness campaign, the organizations, because when you talk about the consumer, people, it's more difficult to talk about that on TV, on newspaper. This kind of campaign, it's necessary inside of the organization. And it's really important. But if I was wondering about the infrastructure, so how the organization can protect their assets. And I don't know if it's possible, but David, can you tell us about what is exactly zero trust? Or maybe I would like to hear about the opinion of all those guests now about the zero trust. Is possible to using, for example, zero trust culture to implement in some organization to help the companies to protect those assets and increase their level of the cybersecurity? What do you think? I would like to start with Dave, and after that, I would like to hear about the others' opinions, because I think that is very interesting about the zero trust. Because of that, I asking about the Dave to explain about the concept, and after that, the opinion, because probably some people never heard about that. So I don't know, it's kind of a strategy, I don't know.
Well, first of all, we have to think about the security perimeter. Before we had the organizations, and we have everything that is in, it's safe and secure, and everything that it's outside, it's insecure. And then we had antivirus and firewalls and all of these solutions. But now, with everything going to the cloud and everybody working remotely, we don't see this perimeter anymore. So everything is just one single environment. And well, zero trust is not a new concept. Well, it's been in the market since 2010, when John Kindervart from Forrester first proposed this model. And after that, we had Google, for example, with Beyond Corp, and we had Gartner with Carta, also introducing zero trust-based model. Well, and zero trust is exactly what it sounds. Don't trust anything or anyone, and always verify every action that is being performed, even from what we call trusted users and devices. Well, no one is trusted anymore. But and now with the pandemic that has accelerated cloud migration and also remote work at the same time, of course, we can't forget that new data privacy regulation that has increasing pressures on organizations to improve data privacy. And the combination of these trends has pushed information security leaders to take a fresh approach to security and to accelerate zero trust adoption. We could name, of course, lots of benefits that zero trust can bring, but let's just stick to one, which is money. And that's why the reason why lots of organizations work. I just wanted to bring one data here to see how zero trust approaches can help organizations to save money. According to the cost of a data breach report 2021, the average cost of a data breach in organizations in a mature state of zero trust was 3.28 million, which is 35% lower than in those organizations that do not have started yet with zero trust.
Awesome. What do you think about that, Phil? Because you have been participating in different conferences around the world. What do you think about this concept or culture about the zero trust? Because maybe it's a buzzword. You know, now it's my opinion, it's Felipe's opinion. For my opinion, it's not a buzzword. We need implementing that to check all those authentications process in some application, but maybe you are thinking in different way. So what do you think about that, Phil and Keen after? I think you are mute.
That is a buzzword.
some people would say that's a good thing for me to be muted, but no, I think it's also just kind of a way of thinking. I think zero trust should be something that everyone implements, not to make sure you verify things before you trust it. I think as an end user, zero trust, just don't trust, because sometimes like phishing campaigns internally, you work in accounting, someone sends an email as the CEO, hey, we need to close this deal, transfer this money. You need to verify, even though it's a name of someone you trust. You can't trust them unless you can validate that it's that person. So I think zero trust is more than just a buzzword. I think it can be applied in many ways beyond the original intent of like a zero trust network.
It could be implemented in so many different ways. Like when I think of zero trust, I think of a network where there are as many authentication vectors on as many points in the network as possible. And because we don't have like the traditional perimeter model anymore, especially since a lot of us are working remotely now, then yeah, we have to make sure that there's as much authentication as possible. There's so many different ways to implement it though. If zero trust, and I know a lot of these zero trust solutions are all based on this, if it's automated, then that could work pretty well and pretty seamlessly. If you implement it in such a way that the user has to manually authenticate every time they're trying to access a resource, then that might be too much friction for the user. And if you make things too difficult for the user, they start adopting less secure practices because they're frustrated. So there are so many different ways to go about it. And then also, if you're automating zero trust, how are you automating it? What are the algorithms? How are machine identities managed? What sort of encryption is implemented? There are so many different factors. As a general concept, though, definitely zero trust is good.
Yeah, we have a comment here in a Q&A button. Re-authentication based on behavior is amazing with the zero trust. Very, very nice. And by the way, I would like to remember that we have a button with the Q&A. You can put your questions and you can comment as well. So I will put in here for our guest. And Beda, what do you think about that, my friend? Because I think it's very interesting because you have a different experience in this case in different organizations, in the banks and e-commerce and, you know, looking to a more and developer things or developer culture. So what do you think about this zero trust? Because it's new, but it's not new, but it's new. So, you know, it's it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's an older concept, but when you look through the buzzword, it's not buzzword, what do you say? It's like a zero trust is a new concept, you know, because like when you have a authentication filled with a lot of applications that you mean about SSO is the one thing that you can do on the company. So you need to think about adoption not only for third party, not only for the customer as well, but you need to think about adoption inside of your teams. You know, so it's quite difficult to have a vision of everything and adoption. But when you have a good user experience inside of your company, it will be better. You know, about this. When you think about the application side as well, we can look more for application policies, cloud policies to have a zero trust inside of your AKS or Kubernetes application. So you can look for zero trust related to partner integrations too. So there's a lot of ways that when you look for a developer, when you look for the whole company experience through the zero trust word, you know, the concept as well. So when you look to developers, we had a lot of things that we can do to improve the experience and then to have adoption, a better adoption about the zero trust against internal applications and for your customer as well.
Nice. I have an interesting question here. So what the guests think about the cryptocurrency? Maybe this kind of, you know, currency can help to accelerate this kind of threats or not? What do you think, Keen, Phil, and Davey, and Beda? What do you think about this, about the cryptocurrency?
This is really interesting because one of my side gigs is I do cyber threat intel for a major Canadian bank. And according to NDA, I can't name the bank, but the this is what I am allowed to say this much. The cyber threats that target the bank are very often driven by cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is king on the dark web, and the majority of these major cyber threats to financial organizations involve the dark web at some point or another. Exploit kits being sold, massive databases of data breach credentials being sold, and the existence of cryptocurrency. Some people think because of the way that the blockchain works, that it's impossible to trace cryptocurrency transactions to an individual. It's not impossible. Never say impossible, because nothing is ever impossible. It's just way more difficult. If law enforcement is trying to investigate a particular cyber threat, back in the old days when cyber criminals would have to use credit cards or PayPal, because like Bitcoin, the first cryptocurrency, was launched in 2009. So that's basically the invention of cryptocurrency. Before that, you know, cyber criminals demanded credit card numbers or PayPal, and that was very, very risky for them because law enforcement can go to MasterCard or Visa or your bank or PayPal and say, we have a search warrant and we need to track these these transactions. And yeah, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero, name the cryptocurrency, it's a lot more difficult to trace transactions to individuals. It's not.
So sorry for interrupt you. Just to clarify, because in this specific webinar we have a technical people and unknown technical people, right? And just to clarify, so cryptocurrency is not malicious, right?
In and of itself, no.
Nope.
Perfect. Okay, because I always receive this kind of question. Man, Bitcoin is totally malicious. Man, wait. So just to clarify, to continue our explanation, sorry for interrupting, because again, this webinar is recorded, and after this webinar we posted on YouTube from Ciência Segura. Just to clarify, so when you're watching this specifically webinar, cryptocurrency is not malicious. Okay,
it's
please go ahead.
It's like my lighter. I always carry lighters with me because I smoke cigarettes and I light scented candles in my home. That is a good use of a lighter, but an arsonist could take the lighter and they can commit arson with it. So it's a tool. It all depends on how it's being used. This is not really a cybersecurity problem. I'm really concerned with the environmental impacts of cryptocurrency and crypto mining. Some crypto mining is not a cyber threat. It's being done with consent of the owners of the computers and the networks. Other crypto mining is malicious because it's not being done with the consent of the owners of the computers and the networks. And that's the difference between malicious crypto mining and non-malicious crypto mining. But either way, it's consuming more and more electricity. Some blockchains out there on Bitcoin and Ethereum are now consuming more electricity to make all these complex mathematical computations than entire countries. And, crypto bros will say, oh, but it's not bad for the environment. We've got like wind powered and fusion powered in the future. Like, no, you can't. People have been talking about fusion power for way longer than I've been alive, and we have yet to invent it yet. And there isn't enough wind turbines or solar panels to provide all the electricity for all this crypto mining. So it is having a very negative environmental impact, but that's not really a cybersecurity problem per se. The blockchain model can be very well used when it comes to, because all a blockchain is it's just a record of transactions that any entity can review. And that's all it is. And it implements cryptography to keep everything going the way it is and to authenticate everything. And it can be used in good ways. Blockchain can be implemented in ways that are useful for cybersecurity. I'm really concerned about the impacts of crypto mining on the environment, though.
Yeah, we have a question here. It's is it really hackable any cryptocurrency transactions by phishing, right? So
I've written blog posts earlier this year about denial of service attacks on blockchains. So if it isn't done very frequently, there is a proof of concept for it. You can put a malicious record on that blockchain ledger, and you can commit a denial of service attack, which makes that possible. Because it's just like millions of computers that all have a little bit of information that's running these blockchains in the decentralized nature of everything. So as far as cyber, and I think Phil and the other people here would agree with me, when it comes to anything cybersecurity related, never say never or always. Never use absolutes. Anything is possible, even if it's very difficult.
Awesome. And thinking about the cyber criminal field, what would be the benefits that the attackers or the threat actors would have in this specifically day on a company that does not seek into implementing the best practices? What the benefits when you're looking about the cyber criminal? And by the way, if you can, of course, can you tell the attendees about what is exactly Hack is Not a Crime? Because I think it's very interesting to talk about this project. That I'm advocate, you are advocate, and Keenan as well. And I think it's very interesting, the opportunity to talk more about this awesome project. It's starting in the US and we have different advocates around the world. So explain first exactly the concept about the Hack is Not a Crime, and after that, the what kind of advantages the attacker has, because it's attacker and threat actors, not a hacker, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
It's so Hacking is Not a Crime is an organization that's trying to help educate the media and the public that hacking is not only used for criminal activities, it's used for good, for penetration testing. Security researchers are going out trying to find vulnerabilities in products and different applications. And the original term of it was back in the day is really more or less people that were makers, that they called that were actually the first hackers. They were writing code, they were creating devices. Some of the for creators of some of the first computers. Go back to the Apple days with Wozniak and Steve Jobs and those folks. Those were the original hackers. But the media, as they a lot of times do, try to sensationalize the news, and they use the term hacker. So it's something that stuck. But to be clear, hackers can be good or bad. It's just like him, talking about our lighter. You can, which I'd have to say, when you're using it to smoke cigarettes, that's almost malicious activity to yourself. But but no, but just like she said, that just like a locksmith, someone that can pick your locks to get into the house if you lock yourself out. Hacking is almost like digital. A digital locksmith. You're able to get into things. So the main thing is to try to set the public straight and educate, because otherwise, I talk to people all the time and I tell them what I do, because sometimes it's easier to say I'm an ethical hacker than a penetration tester. People look at you funny when you tell them you're a penetration tester. And I've had people, when I tell them I'm an ethical hacker, and they said, is there such a thing? And yes, there is. There's, quite a few people that use computer hacking techniques to make sure things are secure, find vulnerabilities. And so that's one of the main things there. One of the things too, when Brian started, it was an awareness campaign. When he brought Chloe on as the co-founder, then they did a lot of things like talking to the government and the media, trying to help, spread that message, because it's out there. And it's interesting, before that even started up, you had Chris Roberts. That was a very big advocate for trying to set the record straight, because I remember him years back, before Hacking's Not a Crime, arguing with people or trying to correct people. But so that's where hacking is not a crime and what the mission is. So as far as taking advantage, threat actors taking advantage of companies don't implement best practices, is so much more than best practices. It's actually putting in the controls in place, securing their environment. One of the things I'll say too, for anyone listening that works in security, if you're management, we need to make sure to go beyond things being compliant. Just because you're compliant for PCI doesn't mean you're unhackable. There's plenty of companies that get breached that are compliant. And then number two, when you do your pen tests, have pen tests done, don't waste the money and just take it as a checkbox exercise. A lot of times companies have pen tests done, but they don't remediate it. They can say, I'm PCI compliant. We need to remediate, because there's been cases I've done pen tests where I tested and retest was part of it. One of the findings I found was a low-level vulnerability. Between the 90 days that I retested, someone figured out how to exploit that. Now it was a high or a critical. If that hadn't been a retest and they just hadn't remediate that, then someone could actually hack into it. So we need to take that seriously. We need to remediate things. Filing risk acceptances doesn't do anything but just get your audit people off your back in your internal organization. You need to make sure risk acceptance is needed sometimes until it's fixed, but you need to make sure you're trying to remediate that issue.
Well, the question is not if you're going to be victim of our cyber attack.
Yeah.
The question is when you're going to be
Yeah.
victim of our cyber attack. So I think the company needs to be prepared not only to remediate the malicious actions, but also to recover from these attacks, and also respond to increased data regulation, to data privacy regulation.
Oops, exactly. Yeah, it's totally true, and that's the big challenge when you talk about the organizations. And one of the techniques used by the penetration testers or used by the attacker, by the way, it's a privilege escalations. Because when you got some access inside of the organization, or maybe www data in the web server, for example, the idea is to gain the privileged access in this specific server and move laterally inside of the environment and so on, go to the object if you think about the Q chain methodologies and so on. And I would like to make a question, not only Dave, but I would like to start with Dave. Understand more about the specifically what you believe about the benefits this continued monitoring of the actions performed with the privilege escalations inside of the environment of the organization. Again, this kind of, not only this specifically threat, but about the threats, the continued monitoring and actions in specifically when you're looking about the privilege escalation. You are mute, my friend. Awesome.
Sorry. Well, we know that zero trust based models, they require all the actions to be continuously checked in the environment. And also data privacy regulation, as I talked before, they demand that all the data breaches are properly reported and by the security team. GDPR, for instance, requires that those teams report incidents 72 hours after its detection. So to monitor the actions performed in the environment is crucial, not only to reduce the damage to the infrastructure, but also to avoid the sanctions from these data privacy laws. And now, well, we've talked about the elimination of the security perimeter, and now we have the spread of insider threats. So we have to check everything that is performed in the environment because we don't know where the attack is coming from. We have to check everything that is going on to make sure that we properly respond and we can detect the attack. The question is not only detect, but to remediate, to know how to remediate those attacks as well.
Awesome. We have some comments here and about the smoke. I also smoke cigarettes and enjoy them very much. The people is very fun. And I have a question to Phil. Is it possible to reveal the identity of the Satoshi Nakamoto and how we made a Bitcoin?
Is it possible to reveal the identity? I don't know how to do that myself. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and I received a Brazilian guy here writes Pires is a very beautiful guy, so thank you so much. It's a friend, write this kind of. Okay, let's continue to another important question. When you think about the infrastructure organizations, nowadays we have many different startups starting in cloud native, and I think about the environment. We have many different developers, and Leonardo Beda has this kind of experience about what is exactly the rule of this, the DevSecOps guy or not guy or culture. And if you think about the security inside of the developer environment, so what would be the advantage that developer would have when migrating to this specific world, security world, and what this professional can help the security teams? In this case, in your case, for example, you was a developer, right? So you moved to the security. And what is the advantage if you are a developer and you are hearing this specific webinar? What is the advantage that you have to move into the security? And by the way, we have many opportunities in security.
Exactly. When you have a DevSecOps, in my point of view, DevSecOps is the most related to a culture. When we bring the security from the first step to the team and to the product team and etc., and then we develop everything around this. But most of the companies know as DevSecOps as a person. That's okay. We can bring it together, but I guess it's more related to when you bring a DevSecOps to a security engineer. It's more related to have visibility to the whole process and automations related to security validations. When we have an automated security pipeline through the process, you have a visibility around your infrastructure as well related to security. When you have a zero trust environment, and then when we have everything like this through or development environment, but not just development, but product too. You know, so it's about that when you have a DevSecOps. You know, but
Awesome. Awesome. If you think about, if we think about the penetration test, for example, about this specific rule, we have a awesome experience, Keen and Phil. When you talk about the penetration tester rule, how this professional can help the companies to protect their environment. And of course, we talk about this specifically festive data, but I think they can help not only specifically with this data, but how the pentester can help the organization to improve the security sensors or environment.
Yeah, it's kind of something you have to do throughout the year. It's not kind of reactive, so you need to be performing those pen tests because the attackers are going to use those same type of threat vectors to exploit your systems and your people. So that's something you need to do ahead of time. And the same thing too. One of the things to keep in mind too with pen tests is the same type of thing, the same type of attacks attackers use. The different threat vectors are also used in ransomware. So, remediating the findings from the pen tests are going to help limit, kind of reduce your threat vectors.
Awesome. And let's check. Oh my goodness, we have just 4 minutes to finish this awesome webinar. And yeah, first, I would like to say thank you for our special guest. By the way, it's awesome moment for me. And let's go to the final thoughts. And Veda, I would like to start with Veda. And thank you so much. I don't know if would you like to say some, new tip or other tips with the people? And thank you so much for your time again. And then it's a pleasure to be here with you, my friend. And the final thoughts in this moment.
For sure. It's my pleasure to be here with you guys, a whole experts on security side as well. And actually, I just have some minutes to take I have some vacancies on security side as well through my company, so related to application security as well, and for security development for Blue Team. So if you guys are interested to join us, please let me know or everyone else. And it's all about it. So thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Phil, your final thoughts.
Thanks for inviting me to join. It's always an honor and great to be on with the rest of you. And to everyone that celebrates Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And if you don't, I think it's a good day for people. We should always reflect on what we're thankful for. And the two things I'm most thankful for is our friends and family.
Awesome. Keen, please.
Okay, so I think I should end with my 2 tips to avoid being cyber attacked on the holidays. So first of all, and I've been talking to banks about doing this too. I've been talking to banks about trying to migrate away from having links and emails for their customers to click on as much as possible. And so that means, in general, if a retailer or your bank or utility company sends you an email and it has a link in it, don't click on it. Go put their address into your web browser directly. Do it that way, especially if it's your bank or utility company or something like that. And that's one of the better ways to avoid the web phishing attacks, definitely. And if you're going to buy an IoT device for someone for Christmas, research it online. Research to see if there are any cyber threats pertaining to that device and how to make it more secure. And thank you very much, everyone, for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Awesome. Dave, you have 45 seconds.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I'd like everybody to invite everybody to reflect on the online transactions, pay attention to all the activities they are performed online. It is very dangerous. Well, here in Brazil, we have lots of banking trojans and schemes going on. And we have to, well, on the cybersecurity side, we have more threats, we have more malicious attackers. Cybersecurity teams are overburdened, so we have to use on our side automation, machine learning, artificial intelligence. So those are some of the trends that we're going to hear on the next few months. And of course, I'd like to invite you all to participate on next month's webinar, where me and Felipe, we're going to introduce what are the main cybersecurity trends for 2022, and we're very excited to present that.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And the people are writing in the chat here. Thank you so much, Phil, Keen, and other guests. And we really appreciate here. And just remind you, all those people, that the recording will be posted after this presentation on YouTube. It's from Cybersecurity YouTube, actually. And once again, thank you so much, everyone, for staying here with us. And I really appreciate and see you in the next webinar.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Holidays. See you.
Bye-bye.